recently I did a video which was 200% Magic Find versus 20,000% Magic Find. This one's going to be a continuation of that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at the Soul Ritual, which is supposed to give you almost infinite Magic Find. So I'm going to do a similar sort of thing. I'm going to get the souls to perform their ritual at the start of every game, and I'm going to run Chaos Sanctuary 100 times. And then after I'm done, I'm going to compare this data with the 220,000, and we're going to try and see where the soul ritual fits within that group. Once again, I am aware that 100 runs is not a huge sample size, but especially with this, I imagine getting these souls isolated and to perform their ritual and not having the mercenary. This is going to be a time-consuming 100 runs, even though it is only 100 runs. So the 100 runs is going to be where it has to sit, and I can continue to extend upon this, but it will give us a foundation of where we believe that the Souls Ritual sits within that realm of Magic Find, and whether, if you already have, like, 300 or 400% Magic Find, whether it's doing anything at all. That's another question. Like, with the way that the diminishing returns happen, if you already have Magic Find, does it really do nothing? Well, that's what I'm here to find out. So the character that I'm using is going to be the same character that I used for the 200% and the 20,000% Magic Find. What I might do is I might bring his Magic Find down to a flat 200 so that I'm comparing it baseline up against the 200 Magic Find that I had on the other character, and we can see whether it improves from that 200% and whether it exceeds the 20,000%. That's the big one. All right, so you're going to see that I have 200 flat Magic Find, so I'm going to leave it at that. I also do not have a mercenary because the mercenary tends to kill the souls, and then they can't complete their ritual. So for this entire run, I'm not going to have a mercenary, which is going to probably slow things down a little bit with mana consumption and stuff like that as well. If you are not familiar with this ritual, I will show you very quickly a few places where you can get it done. With my gear, so that I can survive being blasted by souls endlessly for a while, is I have a T-Gods and I have a Wisp on, so that I should be able to stand there and just absorb all of the lightning that they're throwing at me. So there's a couple of places where you can reliably try and chase souls. So the first one is Worldstone Keeper level 2. Hopefully you can get them right next to the waypoint so that you don't need to go looking for them. Here we go, right here. Do this, you can see my health's okay. I'm just getting blasted by souls. All right, so as you can see, they've started doing their ritual now. I'm going to speed this up because we don't need to watch the entire ritual in real time. So I'll just speed this up so that we can get through it quickly and we'll move on. And then they just come back to attacking me. And we're going to jump over to our Sanctuary now. That is one run down. Like this, where they just don't want to do the ritual, and you end up sitting around. By the time you herd the other monsters away and you get 4 of the souls isolated, and then you're waiting for them to perform the ritual, like I could have done 2 chaos runs in this time. Alright, so I ended up moving on and finding the next group. So this is that same game name, and you can see now that they've only just started the ritual. So if we look at the time of when I last gave an update, that gives you an indication of how much time we're wasting trying to get these to go ahead. This is going to be the slowest 100 runs I've ever done in my life. Alright, so I found that if I gather them together and I do a town portal back to town, that way I'm coming back and they're sort of all syncing together with the attack. It seems to be a little bit easier to get it. So that's the best method that I've found so far. Right then. Trangs. bow. Something, I suppose. So I'm just going to do a quick recap montage of some of the items that dropped during this 100 run period. As a whole, I don't think there was anything of particular note that dropped, and I felt the drops were a little bit underwhelming. The drops that I'm noting within this particular compilation are some of the better drops that I had, but as a whole, nothing is really that exciting. Alright, so I've just finished the 100 Souls ritual runs of Chaos Sanctuary, and I must say, that's the most miserable 100 runs I've ever done in my life. Normally when I'm making these videos, I'm having a pretty good time while I'm doing it, and I had to push through that. It wasn't fun at all, and maybe I'm just an idiot, which is possible, but I found it hard to consistently get the souls to perform the ritual. I thought I found a solution with gathering them together and then taking a town portal back to town and then jumping back through, and they sort of all sync together, but it'd work for a couple of runs, and then you'd run into a group and they just, no matter what you did, they just didn't want to do it, and you'd be hanging around a game for 10-15 minutes just waiting for them to complete their ritual. That, along with the fact that I was doing this with a Fist of the Heavens Paladin, and that T-Gods has a chance to cast a level 7 Fist of the Heavens, so my fully synergized Fist of the Heavens would come down, and if they took a while to complete their ritual, that proccing would eventually kill them, and then I would have to go find another mob, and it was not great. In terms of the drops, so the drops I thought were kind of a bit average as well. I didn't really have a singular drop that I thought, like, wow, that's incredible. I hear people who do this ritual and they walk away like, I found 15 Death's Webs and 6 Death's Fathoms and 2 Tyrael's Mites. I'm calling bullshit. It's not that great. So we're going to look at the numbers. So I'm going to put something up on the screen, and we're going to compare this to the 200% that I did when I did my other video. Okay, so you can see here that I have 146 was my original base figure. At the end of this run, I had 167 items in total found. The thing that I find a little bit weird is on both of the 20,000 and the normal 200, I found way more uniques than I did set items. But this one was the other way around by a substantial margin, beating both the 200 and the 20,000 by quite a bit with set items. Those set items weren't very good. Most of the time, they were pretty low-level bad items. But I found a lot of them. And the unique items were relatively on par with what the other 200 was, I think. So in total, if you're looking at total number of combined unique set items found using this method, there was an increase. There was an increase of somewhere between 14 to 15%. If you take into consideration the amount of rigmarole it takes to get this set up, do I think it's worth it? No. I can see if you had a character that was fully decked out and you weren't using Magic Find at all, where this could be beneficial if you were running the maps from Act 1 all the way through to Act 5 and completing it. I don't know how many people are playing the game that way, but if you could, I could see some form of benefit. As a whole, if you are already running, let's say, somewhere between 200 or more Magic Find, I kind of think that this is not worthwhile. And that is just my findings. Like I said at the start of this video, 100 runs is not a huge sample size for this to go off. That's just what I have found out from the data that I have collected. I don't know if anyone else has done a comparison like this. I tried to find someone else who had done it, and I couldn't find anyone else who has done it. And going from the miserable time that I had, I can probably understand why no one else has tried to do this. So that's the data that I found out. That's the conclusion that I've come to. If anyone has anything to add, I'd be very interested to hear it. I am very curious as to how this mechanic works and whether there are other things involved. During this, I did see a few more runes than I possibly maybe would normally. So I don't know whether this affects runes at all, or maybe that was just RNG. Who knows? I didn't get any real good runes, but I did find an and a mal in the 100 runs. But a lot of low-level runes and co's and things like that. More than I think I normally do. But like I said, there could just be RNG. Who knows? Anyway, that's the findings that I've come up with from looking at this data and from those runs. As always, thank you for checking out the video. It's much appreciated, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.